Alec Baldwin's movie Rust premieres 3 years after the cinematographer Helena Hutchins was fatally shot on set. And we'll look back on the glittering
fires US-supplied long-range missiles into Russia, a move that the Kremlin says is a renewed face of the Western war against Russia. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visits central Gaza, vowing to eliminate Hamas from the enclave. Prominent media tycoon and activist Jimmy Lai says he wanted his media outlet to deliver freedom to Hong Kong as he takes the stand in his trial for foreign collusion. And Donald Trump spends another day with Elon Musk. This time, the pair watched the latest test of a SpaceX rocket in Texas.
And the SpaceX Starship rocket has been launched on another test flight from Texas in the last few hours.
Well, the liftoff was watched by US President-elect Donald Trump and SpaceX owner Elon Musk, who he's just appointed to his new team. But hopes of repeating the extraordinary success of the last mission were dashed after half of the rocket splashed down in the Gulf of Mexico.
OK. It's a bit different from last month, isn't it, when it landed perfectly in that cradle and the world watched open-mouthed.
Yeah. Not every day can be your best day,
always
John, as we know.
As a charity, Doctors Without Borders stopping operations across the Haitian capital, Port-au-Prince, because of an escalation in violence and threats its staff received from members of the Haitian police. The news comes against the backdrop of a widening humanitarian and security crisis in the country and rampant gang violence. Police in Brazil have arrested 5 people suspected of planning to kill Brazil's president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, in 2022. The 5 allegedly plotted to kill the president and his vice president just 2 weeks before their inauguration. Brazilian media is reporting that 4 of the accused are active members of the military and a 5th is a serving member in the police force. Police say the suspects named the operation Green and Yellow Dagger in a nod to the colors of the Brazilian flag. The U.S. Department of Justice will ask a judge to force Google to sell its popular web browser Chrome on Wednesday. That's according to Bloomberg News. In August, a judge ruled that Google illegally monopolized the search market and has been considering what penalties to put in place. Google has come out against the DOJ's proposal, saying that selling its internet browser will harm consumers and businesses. Germany's defense minister says damage to 2 undersea telecom cables in the Baltic Sea look like an act of sabotage. A 730-mile or 1,170-kilometer cable between Finland and Germany was severed on Monday as an internet link between Lithuania and Sweden's Gotland Island also stopped working. Finland and a cybersecurity firm say the cable was most likely severed by an outside force. The incident comes at a time of heightened tension, of course, with Russia. And before we go, tennis legend Rafael Nadal has officially played his final match. He'll retire with 22 Grand Slam titles. That's second only to Novak Djokovic. Nadal also won an Olympic gold medal for Spain in both singles and in doubles. The Spaniard ended his career in front of a home crowd, losing in 2 sets at an event in Malaga. He's 38 years old. He leaves behind quite the legacy, particularly in Paris, where you see here his image projected in front of the Eiffel Tower. Nadal won the French Open a record 14 times, earning him the nickname the King of Clay.
Our headlines today. More than 1,900 people who claim their cancer was caused by talcum powder are launching legal action against the company responsible for selling it.
When I had my children, the first thing you reach for is that talcum powder. It's just another line of guilt, because you know that you applied it, you did it.
President Biden approves the sending of anti-personnel mines to Ukraine to combat advances by Russian troops in another major reversal of defence policy.
Hands up everybody who thinks Northern are doing a great job.
Time to get Northern Rail back on track. That's the warning from regional mayors ahead of today's deadline for the operator's improvement plan.
Good morning. Tracking the rising cost of living. Could the speed at which prices are going up have picked up again last month?
Look at the papers.
Let's do that. Let's begin with the Times. It says Vladimir Putin has lowered the threshold for a nuclear strike on the West. That's after Ukraine fired US-supplied long-range missiles at Russian territory for the first time. It's also one of several front pages to feature a photo of the protests over changes to inheritance tax for farmers that took place in London yesterday.
The Daily Express also leading with those protests, the paper quoting the opposition leader, Kemi Badenoch, warning that Labour's cruel tax, as she called it, on farmers will destroy the industry.
Meanwhile, the Mirror says the One Direction will come together one last time at Liam Payne's funeral today.
The operator of the Elizabeth line has lost its bid to renew its contract. From next May, it'll be run by a consortium that includes Tokyo Metro and the company that already runs Southern and Thameslink. TfL says it'll bring the best parts of Tokyo and London to the Elizabeth line. The capital is expected to have some of the highest numbers of homelessness among young people this Christmas. According to the charity Centrepoint, around 2,500 people aged 16 to 24 could be without somewhere to stay this winter. The government has described the predicted figures as simply unacceptable and said there is additional funding in the budget. Royal Mail is marking the 150th anniversary of the birth of Sir Winston Churchill. Each stamp in a new collection features photographs of Churchill at defining moments in his life, accompanied by some of his most memorable quotes from articles, books, letters and speeches. Bell heather is making a return to Epping Forest after disappearing more than 50 years ago. The delicate heathland species is being grown in Essex and then transplanted to Epping Forest. It's part of a conservation collaboration between Essex Wildlife Trust and the City of London Corporation.
Across the UK, we've lost about 80% of heather since the 1800s, and so maintaining these areas of heathland is really important, and ensuring that we've got the variety of species. So incorporating bell heather back into the heathland is improving that diversity.
The maker of Johnson's talcum powder denies the product caused cancer, as nearly 2,000 people begin legal action claiming it did. Rafa Nadal, one of tennis's greatest champions, finally ends his glittering sporting career.
I just want to be remembered as a good person and a kid that follow their dreams.
And it's a late night on the cards for country fans as the annual Country Music Awards comes to the UK for the first time.
Inflation climbs again. A rise in the cost of energy bills is to blame. What will it mean for interest rates? The pop star Harry Styles arrives at the funeral of his former One Direction bandmate Liam Payne, who died last month at the age of 31.
This is me living with my brain tumour. Yes!
And bagging Scotland's Munros, how the BBC's Glenn Campbell turned to climbing to deal with an incurable cancer diagnosis.
The legal fight to keep LTNs. We meet campaigners who've taken the Tower Hamlets mayor to court after he tried to scrap them.
We know there are older people who feel much safer because there are so many fewer road collisions now in this area. We don't think he listened to people like GPs and hospitals who say that we're much healthier because we're all walking more.
Tower Hamlets mayor says the scheme just pushes traffic to other roads. Also coming up. 2 Met officers are facing criminal investigation over a collision last month which killed a heavily pregnant woman and her unborn baby. Plus, 20 new electric buses are rolled out in South London as part of plans to ditch diesel vehicles by 2030. And you're green. We assess the Wicked effect on London ahead of the film version this week. Two Metropolitan Police officers have appeared in court to deny sexually assaulting a woman in a casino while they were off duty. PC's Jerome Beasley, who's 42, and Luke Robinson, who's 39, both face 4 charges. They're currently suspended. 2 people have been taken to hospital after a bus roof was ripped off after a collision with a tree in Dagenham. It happened at Hedgemans Road this morning. Police say 2 women were taken to hospital and their injuries are not life-threatening. An investigation into the cause of the crash is underway. The Essex car giant Ford says it's hoping to avoid any compulsory redundancies after announcing the loss of 800 jobs in the UK over the next 3 years. A number of posts at the Research and Development Centre at Dunton near Basildon could be under threat. The firm says the cuts will be in administrative and development roles rather than production. And the operator of the Elizabeth line has lost its bid to renew its contract. From next May, it'll be run by a consortium that includes the Tokyo Metro and the company that already runs Southern and Thameslink. TfL says it'll bring the best parts of Tokyo and London to the Elizabeth line.